Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Tuesday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, another Laker on the shelf. We'll explain next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always free, never behind a paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 25,000 very concerned subscribers, not only with the news near the end of last week, but in the news on Monday afternoon, which we will get to in just a moment. Do want to let you know first that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, Andy, Monday's show, we talked all about the mystery of Jarred Vanderbilt and his health and whether or not Vanderbilt would be available for the start of the season. You relayed a conversation with Mike Bresnahan on Spectrum Sportsnet where he said they're just not sure. We don't know if he's going to be ready for camp. And this was terrible news. We had a very sad episode on Monday about this. And then Monday comes along and the news cycle says, hold my beer. We have more definitive news than this Vanderbilt thing. We can tell you a player who isn't going to be ready for the start of the season, and it's bad.
Yeah, the news came from the Lakers today on Monday. Quote, Christian Wood underwent a successful arthroscopic surgical procedure on his left knee today. The procedure was performed by Dr. Christopher J. Jones at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. Wood will be reevaluated by team doctors in approximately 8 weeks. If that sounds familiar to you, it is because the Lakers sent out damn near the exact same release in March. The only difference is that the March release ended with further updates will be provided as appropriate, as opposed to Wood will be evaluated by team doctors in approximately 8 weeks. So I guess if you are looking for the potential upside view here, it's that the Lakers with this second statement seem to be hedging their bets less. Like they're putting something of a timeline on the second surgery as opposed to the first one. I have
only in the sense that they're now giving you a timeline for when they're going to peek under the hood again.
Sure.
We'll take a look at 8 weeks.
Before they didn't even tell you for sure that there was even going to be any type of update at all. They just said when it's appropriate, which we discussed a lot. We discussed a lot on Monday about the Lakers' protocols when it comes to injury information, what they let you know, what they don't let you know, what they seem to be going out of their way often not to tell you, and how little details, even by the standard of NBA teams who are always reluctant to give out too much information. And Brian and I have been doing this for a long time. We recognize there's only a certain amount that we can even reasonably expect because players they're allowed a certain amount of privacy. That being said, this is where the caginess, we'll get into all what this means with Wood in a second, but this is where the caginess can sometimes come back to bite you in the ass, because now I'm even wondering, like, how did we know this was a successful surgery? Like, I've got a lot of questions.
Well, I mean, they never say, Christian Wood underwent a disastrous. I mean, like a quote from the surgeon. Oh my God! Like I checked this afternoon to make sure my malpractice insurance was up to date, because man alive, this went very poorly.
Right, but at the same time, though, it's very rare to have two statements of surgery within 5 months of each other. Well, that's unusual.
It's unusual, I guess. Here's what I find. And there's so much basketball stuff here to unpack with both this and Vanderbilt. Just because
Christian Wood, like a month ago, tweeted out that he was having a vengeance season.
I'm back
on Instagram. I'm back, y'all, and I'm coming back next season with a vengeance. Cut to maybe a month later on Twitter. Damn, I was just feeling like my old self again and was in peak shape. minor setback for a major comeback. And to my fans, don't stop believing in me. Prayer hands emojis.
Injuries recur.
Sure.
These things happen, whatever. And, seems, I mean, I can't say it's obviously a recurrence of the same. I mean, it seems like a recurrence of the same injury and all this stuff. The timing, like you say, at least Wood sent out some sort of follow-up to that initial, I'm back, baby kind of thing. It's just one of these things. It is hard to be completely fair with injury assessments and injury information and because we have imperfect information. We don't know what the Lakers were like. What was Wood doing? He's probably working out and getting ready for the season, all this stuff. Guys get hurt. It happens, whatever.
Quite possibly away from the team too. Teams
right.
have
We could have
less
been doing stuff, running up and down the floor under team supervision, and nobody necessarily did anything wrong here.
Or away from the team. Like teams,
been.
Generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, have less direct contact with their players during the offseason.
But we'll learn more. Was he was he working out in LA? Was he working out somewhere else? Did he, fall down the stairs? I don't know. It is, I don't know, I don't know the exact parameters of the operation. I don't know what he's been doing. Nobody necessarily did anything wrong here, but what we have, regardless, is another one of these situations where players who are important aren't getting healthy. And, and it's just, as we talked about the opaque nature of the Vanderbilt news, like this feels, I will say, this feels different because the Vanderbilt thing has just been this, news black hole where we've all talked about, while raising our hand periodically going like, I could use a little information and some proof of life here for Jarred Vanderbilt. Broadly, we've sort of talked about the Lakers and Vanderbilt as if Vanderbilt was healed and would be better for the season. This appears to be one of these things that, whereas like with Vanderbilt, it was clearly he's just not gotten healthy yet. This process has been much slower, whereas Wood seems like he was healthy and hurt himself again in this offseason process, doing whatever it is, getting ready for the year. It's going to be one of these things that chips away fairly or unfairly at the faith that people have in the team. And, whereas this doesn't appear to be something the Lakers were, keeping from people, other than maybe like they probably found out Wood got hurt a couple days ago, because if he got surgery today, he didn't get, he got surgery on Monday, I should say. He didn't hurt himself Monday morning and have surgery Monday afternoon. But broadly, it's just another one of these things that is going to drive Lakers fans insane, because you have a player who was injured and is supposedly ready to come back, and now he's injured again. And it is bad news for the team. And, beyond, we'll finish this segment on the optics and then get into the basketball. It's bad on both.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you dial things all the way back and you go to last season where Christian Wood went into the All-Star break seemingly healthy. He played in the last game before the All-Star break, played about 15 minutes or so, then reemerged from the All-Star break unhealthy. And there weren't a lot of details to my memory about what was going on or even how whatever happened. Then all of a sudden in March, he's having surgery. And then if you recall, during the playoffs, there was talk about him possibly being back. He dressed in 2 of the games, but didn't play. And again, you get on one of these paths like Vanderbilt where you seem to be progressing towards something. And then, like you noted, the Vanderbilt Wood things are not apples and apples. It seems like the progression with Vanderbilt has been slower. And I would agree with you, shrouded in more seriously what the hell is going on than with Wood. But nonetheless, as you said before, this is just going to I think make it more difficult for people to take the Lakers at face value when they talk about the health and progress of their players, even when I agree with you, there's a very good chance that in the case of Christian Wood, the Lakers really did nothing wrong at all. It's certainly not impossible that something went wrong along the way on their end.
It shouldn't be the assumption that this is
right. I would agree, but it's going to be harder to give them the benefit of the doubt.
The bigger impact here is the basketball, because and we'll explain why, but this is another huge, because did we mention 8 weeks that they would you did 8 weeks were reevaluated, which means he's unlikely. That means they're just going to look, and so good chance 8 weeks is 10 11 before he plays again, which certainly gets you well into the regular season. So we'll break down the basketball here because it's not good, and we'll get all that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by BetterHelp. It's fall. The kids are back in school. They will complain about classes and learning, but the reality is kids like being challenged. They like finding their passions and learning about who they are. But unfortunately, it never feels like there's enough time to exercise intellectual curiosities as an adult. And even if there was enough time, you wouldn't know how to break through all the walls that we all create for ourselves as adults. Therapy, though, can help you learn about yourself and to tap into the best versions of yourself. And I can personally attest to how much talking with a professional therapist helped me and my family during a really difficult period, just helping us find ways to communicate better with each other, compromises that don't leave you feeling either completely unfulfilled or unheard. Therapy is a different experience for everyone. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's designed entirely online, designed to be flexible and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
So with Vanderbilt, Andy, it was one of these things where I said on the show for Monday that the biggest opportunity the Lakers had for internal improvement was the return of Jarred Vanderbilt. The ability to plug him into lineups, to have the defensive versatility, a different look offensively, in terms of just motion and cutting and things like that. While Vando's not a great offensive player, it's a different look than what other guys give. But really, this is the defensive lineups and the defensive versatility that he offers, the improvement in rebounding and all these other things. And they desperately missed it last year because they don't have somebody who could fill that role, not all at once. So beyond all that and the energy and stuff, there's just a lot of practical basketball stuff they're missing with Vanderbilt can't play. We don't know if he's not going to be able to play, but it doesn't look great right now for him to be on the floor until we hear differently. I think we mentioned this. If you were looking for like the second place where internal improvement was going to be most important and the second most important spot where the Lakers really needed a player who was injured last year to thrive. I know we talked about this last week, if not on Monday. The answer there was Christian Wood. Like, some of those lineups with LeBron, Wood, and AD, very small sample sizes last year and all this stuff, like they needed Wood. I think we talked about it in his I'm Back podcast. Like he's an important player in terms of what he can offer the Lakers. He's even more significant if Vanderbilt can't play. And now we know Christian Wood is going to miss really the beginning of the season. Yeah,
he and Max Christie, depending, I think, on how you look at it and what you're looking for, were probably the best guys to fill that void if Vando was potentially out to start the season. Wood specifically in just providing more front court size, front court optionality, definitely the rebounding. Christian Wood was on a per 36 basis, the best defensive rebounder among guys who got real minutes on the Lakers other than Anthony Davis. He had the best defensive rebounding percentage and total rebounding percentage of everyone on the team, again, other than Anthony Davis. And last year, rebounding was a real problem for the team. And like Christian Wood, while he, I think at times was better defensively than I expected, and to his credit, I think he really did try to do his best on that end of the floor. Like it's not his calling card, but at the same time, what he did do often was help end possessions just by getting the defensive rebound. And that was something that the team missed a lot last season. And especially if Vanderbilt isn't there, Christian Wood was going to be counted on to bring a lot of that. And he's also, too, he's a skilled player. Like, he's got a reputation as an empty calories scorer. And to some degree, I think that is fair, just in the sense that he's never been an important scorer on a team that's going anywhere. But it doesn't change the fact that he's skilled. And he is somebody that, especially if you believe that JJ Redick is going to be as creative offensively in terms of just scheming what they're going to be doing and finding more solutions this year than Darvin did last year, ways to just implement Christian Wood, get him in better rhythm. You'll just need that. You'll need him out there just for the skills. He could be a safety valve if possessions break down and somebody needs to get a shot. Like, they will miss him not being there, especially if Jarred Vanderbilt also isn't there.
It's that loss of optionality that is really problematic. Because, like Max Christie, for example, at least there are people of his height that can sort of do, Dalton Connect can theoretically play, hit 3-pointers. Max Christie is expected to hit like 3 and D. I'm not going there, but you can mix and match and do so. There is no one of Wood's height who can do what Wood does. The backup, you're back down now to having a front court rotation of AD and Jaxson Hayes, and I guess Colin Castleton in applicable games and things like that, with no real flexibility to go out and fix the problem, because you have 15 guys on your roster. And I know people say, well, just cut someone. Well, you can't cut someone. You got to remove the salary. And it's not just a question likely of, get rid of Maxwell Lewis and go get a veteran center. Well, the veteran center is probably going to cost more than Maxwell. It is even to open up, and then which one? Like who's what big man's out there that's going to make a lick of difference in terms of your rotation. So, it may be a matter. I mean, maybe you take a flyer on a young player who is not established in that same price range, but that is something that's going to be doing. It cost you a second-round pick probably to be able to do it. Point is,
truth be told, the Lakers have likely, I'm not going to say definitely, but likely, they've missed the boat when it comes to fixing whatever parts of the roster you want fixed through free agency. It's not impossible, I suppose, but in all likelihood, they're already too far behind the 8 ball to really make that a thing.
Right.
Like,
it would need to be a trade at this point.
Right. Well, yeah. If you want to, at this point, you would want to salary dump Cam Reddish or Wood or Hayes or Maxwell Lewis, one of those minimum guys. You want to create a salary spot, like you said, so you can acquire somebody in a trade as opposed to a street free agent.
It's not easy to do. And the Lakers are a good team, I think, with the roster out there. Even though, look, I mean, all the injuries they had last year to the supporting cast, they still, again, 47-win team. Some would argue substandard coaching and all these other things. You improve on those things, you can push 50 and win 50 games in the Western Conference. Pretty good team. But I think everybody agrees that they are a very fringy at best in the contender area. And that their upside is contingent on being able to get the full complement of players like Vanderbilt, like Christian Wood, and all these guys, Gabe Vincent. This is a bad start. We haven't even started training camp, and we're worried about 2 of their most important front court players being unable to play. One of whom we know is not going to be evaluated for 8 weeks coming off of surgery. And the second time, they're going to, maybe be a little more careful. They're going to be slow coming back. Like, I don't know when we're going to see Christian Wood.
I don't know how much slower they could be coming back. He didn't actually come back.
I don't know when we're going to see Christian Wood, but I can tell you it's not going to be in 8 weeks. So I don't know when we're going to see Jarred Vanderbilt. He's back on the floor, but feet are not good. You got to be careful with feet.
My real hope with Vanderbilt, and this is based on nothing other than me trying to speak it into existence, is just the idea that for someone like Vanderbilt, who's had foot issues in the past, remember he had a heel issue on his left foot that kept him out of training camp in the opener of the regular season before he eventually had the midfoot in the right foot, that they're just being incredibly cautious because they don't want any type of recurrence. Again, this is based on nothing other than I want it to be.
Well, but like you
would make sense.
There are examples of guys who look like their careers are going to be over because of foot problems. Brooke Lopez. Brooke Lopez being the most, I think, prominent recently of a guy who be like, that guy's an injury problem. He's a big guy and can't stop with the foot problems. He's never going to heal. And the guy's been very durable over the last 6 or 7 years after those foot problems in Brooklyn. So, I mean, I'm not trying to like throw dirt on Vanderbilt. I'm just saying the Lakers are not going into training camp in a good way. And the optionality, the ability to use Anthony Davis in multiple ways and keep other rebounders and other bigs, other offensive players, like you say, creative offensive players, a guy who can step outside and shoot so Anthony Davis can go low, a guy who can go low while Anthony Davis works in the high post or something like that. There's a lot of stuff that you can do with Christian Wood, who was one of your better rebounders, especially if Vanderbilt can't play, and is in a position to, not a bad rim protector. He's not a great defender, but he's not a bad rim protector. And it forces the Lakers into certain lineups that, you may not be advantageous in certain situations. So there's one other thing that struck me about the way this seems to be playing out that I want to note. I do want to thank people as well for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day. Sad and upsetting as the news might be on certain days, make Locked On, the Locked On NBA podcast, your second listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So there is something kind of, I guess, interesting that we'll get to see at the beginning of the year based on the news that we've gotten over the last couple of days. And I'll tell you what it is next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. You've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we got a little something different for you now. Now through September 22nd, so still time, all FanDuel customers can bet $5, just $5, and you get a free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. And then with a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. And while you start getting ready to set up for this, you can also start thinking about the 24-25 odds for the upcoming NBA season. As of this recording, the Lakers are 35-1 to win the title. Anthony Davis, 150-1 for MVP. LeBron, 200-1. Dalton Connect, 10-1 for Rookie of the Year. Max Christie, 150-1 for Most Improved Player. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook.
So, like a lot of people, Andy, we've sort of made the joke, the observation that, the Lakers, with this continuity that has been thrust upon them, are in shape to run this incredible experiment as to the value of coaching. You had Darvin Ham's roster and you have JJ Redick operating with the same roster. And we really are going to see, with very little changes in between, what the difference is between those guys in terms of approach and this and that, and is the coach worth wins? And people would point out, they'd say things like, well, the two seasons are never quite the same, and Redick might have guys back that Darvin didn't have and stuff like that, maybe trying to show a little sympathy for Darvin. Apparently, Andy, that is like the basketball gods really want to see this in the most literal sense. Like they are trying to, that's why you get eyes on Gabe Vincent, because apparently they're trying to craft a scenario in which JJ Redick and Darvin Ham operate under identical circumstances.
Yeah, the basketball gods really have a lot of free time if your theories.
It's a long off season. I mean, they're as bored as we are.
I guess so. And then they get their jollies doing weird things. I mean, if Vanderbilt can return relatively quickly, assuming he's going to be out at all, I think they can manage to make this work okay. Because Vanderbilt is really, we've talked about this before, I think he is the most unique player on this team among guys who are not LeBron or AD in terms of Vanderbilt brings things in one player that you can't replicate in anybody else on the roster. Like if you lose, for example, D'Lo, Austin Reeves can in a lot of ways replicate what D'Lo does, to say nothing about the way LeBron can run an offense, Gabe Vincent. Same thing if you miss Austin Reeves. D'Lo can duplicate a lot of what Reeves does. And down the line, there are different guys who in some ways are duplicative of other guys on the roster, provide pretty similar things. The stuff Vanderbilt does, he's really the only guy who does it in one player, and he addresses a lot of what the roster does not have. Like there are not a lot of guys on this roster, period, who bring specifically what Vando brings, much less in the same player. So like the Wood thing is a big deal, particularly if Vanderbilt's not there. And especially if you really don't consider Jaxson Hayes a viable option for 15 minutes a night, it becomes problematic. But especially if Vando's not there, like they're going to JJ Redick's going to have to start thinking about perhaps playing smaller than he wants to start the season, which is bad because we saw a lot of evidence last year that the Lakers are a much better, more difficult team to deal with when they're bigger. I think they tend to be a harder team to match up against when they're bigger. They find more advantages when they're bigger. They're not a team that you look at their smaller personnel and think, all right, that's what other teams can't handle. If they are forced to go smaller, or in the case of Darvin last season, seemingly preferring to go smaller, that's not good.
It's not. And when you don't have much margin for error, all of these little things eat into it. An extra 15 games where Wood doesn't play is significant. Vanderbilt having to be monitored more carefully at the start of the year, maybe. Because remember, like when he first came back from the injury, like I think you mentioned in the last segment, he was really bad. And then he had to heal up a little more, and he finally found a groove, and then got hurt again. So it takes time. And when, the debate that people have about training camp a lot of times is that sort of rest thing. And, Redick is going to have to deal with this with LeBron and AD, where how do you measure the output of guys who are coming off of the Olympic experience or, the World Cup or whatever it was that Reeves played in last year? Like it clearly took something out of Reeves to play internationally over the offseason. And it took him a couple months before he really felt like himself again. The Lakers obviously have to be super careful with LeBron and with AD. If players get hurt during training camp, you have to be really careful with them. You cannot turn a 2-week thing into a 6-week thing because you overwork guys who are injured, coming into the season. But that none of that, and I think sometimes people think of that in terms of, well, then it doesn't matter. Training camp doesn't matter. The preseason doesn't really matter, but it does. It's when guys actually really get into shape, because that's when it's the only time of the year where you are practicing hard and playing hard every single day. And I realize again, they're from another planet. They work out harder than we do. They play basketball all the time. They do they play 5-on-5. They're in the gym right now. It's probably where Christian Wood got hurt, was in the gym. But it's different when you get in the team setting and you're running drills with your team and you're scrimmaging and you're doing all that stuff and you're doing 1-a-days, sometimes 2-a-days, whatever it might be. When you take that experience away, guys tend to play catch up for the rest of the year. And it is a disadvantageous place to be.
Okay, case in point on this, Christian Wood last year got off to a very slow first month or so of the season, which I personally think had something to do with him getting signed very late into the offseason, which, while seemingly at the time was a boon for the Lakers, were I to guess, because Christian Wood was a free agent for so long, he didn't have access to working out the way other guys with teams, signed with whoever, often do. He looked to me slow and out of shape, and then eventually worked himself up into better form, and then eventually got hurt. But that training camp period and the lead up to it and all the time that you have before everything officially opens, it all matters. But in the case of the Lakers too, they're going to be running a brand new system with a truly new in all senses coach who needs the reps just working with them, putting them on the floor together. Like, and we're going to talk about this more at length later during the week, but there's always this expectation, particularly with veteran teams and a team with LeBron, who's pushing 40, Anthony Davis, those concerns, that you wouldn't worry as much about the preseason. And now, maybe they'll only play a little bit. Like, I think that's a mistake. And I think that attitude has played a role. It's not the only reason, but it's played a role in the last 2 seasons getting off to very slow starts. I think there was varying degrees of newness that the Lakers needed to use the preseason to try to figure out what to do with, and they didn't utilize it enough for the sake of trying to keep guys fresher or not overworking them at the beginning. But it also becomes more difficult to really work them if you already are concerned about opening the season thin. So yet another thing for JJ Redick to potentially figure out in his first season ever coaching.
Yeah, in a season where, vibes and feelings and all that kind of stuff, probably feel a little bit more important than normally do. Vibes are vibes, or they change. They're not as important as concrete stuff. It would have been a good year to go in with, something feeling really good. Like we got everybody, and it still could work out this way.
Sure.
Vanderbilt, if Vanderbilt is ready to go more or less during training camp, there's no sense that he's going to miss a lot of the season. And the worst thing that is set up with your roster is that Christian Wood is going to miss the first month of the season. I'm just making up numbers. It sucks. You want everybody to be healthy, but there's still plenty of good potential here. And we find out that Hood Schifino is ready to play and looks better in camp, and Dalton Connect plays well. There's still a lot to look forward to. But the last week, we talk about the vibes of the political races and stuff like that. They're flying all over the place. We are definitely in a down moment right now for the Lakers, and what's been a down vibes off season because there's been so little activity.
Yeah, and there's been so much anticipation too, and I think hope that the internal improvements would come through the guys who missed a lot of last year, and now 2 out of the 4 guys, whether you're talking Christian Wood, Vando, Gabe Vincent, and then I'm counting Max Christie in this equation because he was missing from common sense in terms of the way he was used. 2 of the 4 guys, there are concerns about already. So we'll see where it goes.
Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with over 25,000 subscribers. Leave us questions, leave us comments about Vanderbilt and Wood or anything else, and we will wrap that stuff into the show. Quick reminder to make Locked On NBA podcast your second listen of the day. You can find the link to it in the show notes. You don't have to go searching around for it and spending time doing that. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'll see everyone tomorrow.